This is part 3 of our knit socks. You can see that I have finished the heel flap. Okay, if we go ahead and we grab the finished sock, you can see this is the heel flap. Okay, and now we have to turn the heel. And you can see how it makes a little 90-degree angle there. Okay, and it's kind of flat here. We do that by using short rows to shape it. And short rows are where you turn before you get to the end of the row. So your middle of the row will have more stitches than your end, and that kind of helps shape it. Okay. After we've done the turning of the heel, we'll have to work our gusset because we have to connect the gap between these. Okay. So we'll go ahead and we'll look at our pattern. And for turning the heel, okay, we work short rows, and you're going to work rows 1 through 4, and then you'll be repeating rows 3 and 4. Okay, so row 1 tells us that we are going to knit 12 or 13 stitches depending on the size, and then we are going to SSK. And what SSK is, it's slip, slip, knit. And I'll show you how to do that. It's a way of decreasing your stitches. Okay, so first we're going to go ahead and we're going to knit 12. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Okay, now if you are a continental knitter like I am, and the way you purl makes you knit through the back loop, okay, your SSK is going to be a little bit simpler. All you're going to do is you're going to knit together through the back loop. Okay, so you go in, knit through here, and knit as normal. If you are not a continental knitter, knitting through the back loop, okay, and your stitches are on the normal way, so to speak, you're going to slip the first stitch as if you knit, slip the second stitch as if you knit. This is the only time you'll be moving stitches as if you're knitting. Everything else is purlwise. Then you're going to insert the left hand needle back into your stitches so that your right hand needle is behind, left hand needle is in the front. You're going to wrap around the yarn and bring it through just like normal. Okay, I'll show you that one more time. Okay, and the stitches got backwards, so I'm going to flip them around. So we slip as if we're knitting, slip as if we're knitting, insert the left hand needle, wrap the yarn around, and bring it through. And that's an SSK. Then we're going to knit one more stitch. And we're going to turn the row. Okay. And we're leaving these stitches unworked. Okay. Row 2 is the wrong side. And it says slip 1 purlwise. And then we're going to purl 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then it says to purl 2 together. Purling 2 together is the same as knitting 2 together. I'm going to go into 2 stitches instead of 1. Going to wrap my yarn around, bring it through and off. And then it says to purl 1 more. And then we are going to turn. Okay, and again, we're leaving stitches unworked. Row 3, we're going to slip 1 purlwise, and we're going to knit to 1 stitch before the gap. Now, if you spread your stitches out, you'll see that there's a bit of a gap here. That's the gap that they mean. That's where our slip, slip, knit from the previous row was. So we are going to knit up to that stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we are at the slip, slip, knit. So again, for continental knitters knitting through the back loop, you can just go in and knit these two together. Okay. If you're not, I'm going to slip them around, so I'll demonstrate a slip, slip, knit again. So we slip as if we're knitting, slip as if we're knitting, insert the left hand needle, bring it through and off, and then we're going to knit one more, and then we're going to turn, and you'll see we're using up the stitches that are left. Okay. Row 4, we're going to slip one purlwise, and we're going to purl to one before the gap. Okay, and again, if you stretch your stitches out, you can see where that gap is. Okay, so we're going to purl to one before the gap. You don't really have to count for this, but you do have to just keep looking at where your stitches are. So we're going to purl these two together, and then we're going to purl one, and we're going to turn. Okay, so it tells us to do rows 3 and 4 until all the stitches have been worked, ending with a WS row, which means wrong side row. And the wrong side will be the inside of the sock. Okay, so let's see, ending with a wrong side row, and the last repeat as a slip, slip, knit on row 3 and a purl 2 together on row 4. And if there's not enough stitches, you just work the final knit 1 or purl 1 after the decrease. Okay, and we should end up with 12 stitches if we're making the small and 14 if we're making the large. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to keep doing this. So now we're back to row 3, which is slip 1 purlwise, and then I'm going to knit to before my gap. Okay, and your gap gets a little bit longer each time. It takes you more stitches to get to it because we're eating up those end stitches. Okay, and then you do your SSK. Okay, continental, I'm just going to knit 2 together. Okay, and then I'm going to knit 1, and then we're going to turn. We're going to slip the first one as if we purl to the end, to the gap. Okay. Okay, we've got to the gap. We're going to purl 2 together. Then we're going to purl 1, and we're going to turn again. Okay, and you can see how it's starting to make a little turn. Okay, so again, we're going to slip 1 purlwise, and we're going to knit. This one should be to the end. Let's see. Okay, we have our gap is the last 2 stitches, so you're going to do an SSK with those. I'll show you that again. I'm just going to switch my stitches. So we have a slip as if to knit, slip as if to knit, insert the left hand needle, and go through. Now we're going to do our last one, which we turn for the last time. We've got the wrong side facing us. Going to slip the first one as if to purl. We're going to purl until we get to that last gap. And it should be 14 stitches. So 3, 4. Okay. Okay, we're going to go through those together. So that is our turning of the heel. Okay, the next part I will show you how to pick up stitches around here. okay, to close our gap and make our gusset.